Hi everyone, today let's look at the difference between how icing sheets and wafer paper print, and I have some prints here I'm going to show you. But to be clear, the icing sheets are basically, it's a sheet of sugar that comes on a backing paper, and you peel it off of the backing paper. Well, I can just use this one. You peel it off of the backing paper after you've printed it, and always use edible inks. Don't just print these on a regular printer. But it's flexible, it's kind of rubbery, and when you put it on the icing, it doesn't, people say it sinks into the icing. It doesn't really sink into the icing. It sits on top of the icing, but you can cut through it. It's not too hard to cut through. The print quality on the icing sheets is pretty good, and I just used a regular print setting. I did not do a photo print, so you can still see some lines here, but that's just from the printer. If you want to get a really good print, you should use the photo settings on your printer. But the colors on an icing sheet are generally going to be brighter than the colors on wafer paper as they print, just because the icing sheet is more opaque. And as you peel this off, you can see that you can kind of see through the back a little bit, but it's a lot thicker. It's plasticky basically, and it feels like plastic. I mean, that's the only way to describe it. It's not. It's made of sugar. And you can see that the ink is coming off of my fingers. You have to be careful when you're touching these because it is just sitting on top of this sugar. And if it gets wet, it will rub off. So you need to be really careful while you're handling these, just to make sure that they don't rub off. This is the Oasis wafer paper in the D. It's a DD grade, which is thick. It's wafer card, basically. And it's like a double sheet of the wafer paper. It's thicker. You can stand it up. People use it to print things on and stand up on cupcakes and cakes, but it will absorb the moisture from the icing because it's made of starch. Like I said, it's potato starch, and it will absorb the moisture, and it's going to sink eventually. So you can use it to make things that stand up. I would not recommend it to put them on the cake way in advance, just because it's going to sag. They're going to get soft. Wafer paper gets soft, and it kind of conforms to the cake, which is good because you can cut through it. Again, it's the same thing. You can cut through it like the icing sheets. The difference between the print, this is a little, since this is a starch, it absorbs the inks and it doesn't kind of sit on the top. Like this was sitting on, the ink sits on the top of the icing sheet. For the wafer paper, it kind of gets absorbed into the surface of the icing sheet, so you don't get the same print quality. You can see the difference here between this one is just, it's a little less bright. And if you want to do photos on cakes and that kind of thing, if customers are giving you photos, icing sheets are probably your best bet. The texture of the icing sheet is a little weird when you're cutting it, and some people don't like eating them. You can always peel it off. Same thing with the wafer paper. If people don't want to eat the wafer paper, you can just peel it off. For most things, the wafer paper is fine for printing. People are not going to notice. They're not going to say, oh, that doesn't look good. They're going to say, oh, that's really cool that you printed it and you put it on the cake. If you have them right next to each other, they can see the difference. But wafer paper is, it just doesn't print as bright as you can see here. This is the regular O grade wafer paper, and it's thinner. You can see it's thinner than the wafer card, which is the DD. This is really good for making flowers and for putting this on the cake because it is thinner and it's easier to cut through. When it sits on the icing, it softens up. Again, it doesn't sink into the icing. A lot of people say that it sinks into the icing. That is not true. It will sit on top, and if you don't like it, you can peel it off. And you can see that it prints pretty much the same as the card, the wafer card. It looks the same. Again, this is not a bad print. If you are going to put a picture on a cake, then wafer paper and wafer card is fine. But if you want the brighter color, you should get the icing sheets. The difference and the trade-off is the texture because, you know, they use icing sheets a lot on cakes. I personally don't like eating them, but like I said, you can peel it off. It's not a big deal. And it's just made of sugar, so it just sits there and you can just eat it right up. It's not a big deal. I used to sell wafer paper, and I never sold the icing sheets because sometimes people have trouble removing it from the backing paper. If you ever get an icing sheet and you can't peel the image off, because sometimes it just gets brittle, just stick it in the freezer for 10 minutes, and that should make it easier to peel off the paper. And to use these, all you do is use, like for the backing sheet, you peel it off and you just smooth it directly onto the cake. That's all you have to do. For the wafer paper, there's no backing sheet, so you just take this and you lay it directly on the cake, and you're done. So it's really just a personal preference. I personally like the wafer paper better, Even though this print's a little bit brighter, I've never had anyone complain about the print. It looks good. Either one works. I'll put the links to all these products in the description of the video. But that's the difference. And if you want the brightest print, you should use the icing sheets. And if it's not, you know, if it's not such a big deal and it's just a matter of economy, the wafer paper is a little less expensive too. So there, you can take that into consideration. But they will all give you a good print. Just make sure that you're using edible inks. Don't put these through a regular printer. And that's it. So leave me any questions and I will talk to you later.